Good afternoon, everybody. Peter Greatrix here from the apartment company. I hope you're all well. This is the second in a series of interviews that I'm having with local business people. Yesterday, we had Dave Dixon from Minuteman Press. And today, I'm delighted to welcome Mike Killpartrick from Ellis and Killpartrick. Hello, Mike.
Hello.
Hello there. How are you doing? All right?
We're pretty good. We're sort of rattling on in these very fluid times.
Strange old times, aren't they? So, well, I suppose, first question, how's it all been over the last, couple of months with lockdown? How have you? Well, actually, going back from that, for the viewers, can you just sort of tell us a little bit about Ellis and Killpartrick and yourself, and how long you've been going?
So I'm an optometrist. I own this business, and we've also got a practice in Cheltenham. Then Ellis and Killpartrick. I'm Mike Killpartrick, and the Ellis is a chap called Brian Ellis, and we were both at Bradford University a long time ago. Anyway, it's got to be 1979, was it? Something like that. No, before that, I beg your pardon, 71. Anyway, met up, became friends, and we sort of then parted company, saying one day we'll open up the practice together. And various things happened. So Brian went off and did things. I went off and I worked abroad for a while. I worked for a contact lens company for a while and dabbled around with bits and pieces. And then we got back together and started the practice. Actually, we started the practice, that's right, in Bath in 1979. So we were at university in 1971, that's right. And that was in George Street, which many of you might know.
Same place as where you are now?
No,
you're at Bond Street now, aren't you?
Yeah, so George Street is the street running across the top of Milson Street. Then we relocated to the premises here in New Bond Street in 1991. And Brian and I, in the meantime, have parted company very amicably. Brian started up a practice of his own in Cobham, and he did very well because he had Chelsea Football Ground just down the road from him. So there's some fairly wealthy footballers were his customers. So, And and then we opened up a practice in Cheltenham, and then we've had a dabble at a few other things that haven't been so successful, mainly because I think I'm better as an optometrist than I am as a businessman. But there we are, sort of extra the two.
But that's really interesting. So and how many? So you've got the two branches. How many people have you got within the practice there, Mike?
I think we've got 7 or 8, is it here, and six in Cheltenham. I think I could have got those numbers wrong, but anyway, it's about right. We have some optometrists who do a little bit of locum work, so they don't work for us full time. They come and do days here and there. So it varies a little bit, but gives you an idea. We're sort of small. I suppose a bit unusual. We're city centre, so we're tending to compete with the big chains. The Boots. Yeah. Specsavers and the Vision Express. Not so many independents do that, but we found a model that works. So,
generally going for the sort of the designer ranges, aren't you? Top end of the market, I would say. Is that fair to say?
I fell into that by accident. Quite frankly, I was always more interested in contact lenses. In fact, I worked in the contact lens industry for quite a while for a German company, which was very good fun. But anyway. For one reason or another, we ended up where we are now, and we I suppose concentrate on the luxury eyewear. Would you call it luxury?
Yeah. And who are your typical clients? So they're generally Bath-based people, I presume.
Well, surprisingly, we have a wide range. I suppose quite a lot of our patients live in London, and they're often patients who we sort of saw when they were young, when they were children in their teens, let's say. They then, like lots of youngsters, moved to London, but a lot of them have stayed patients of ours. But we have patients up in Yorkshire, and it's very widespread. A lot of people are very, very loyal, especially contact lens customers.
I was going to ask, so is that a big part of your business on the sort of, because I know my wife and I, we both get contact lenses from you, but is that a bigger part of your business, would you say?
It's a big part of the business. It's not as profitable as luxury brands.
Right.
But the two kind of work in synergy pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. And going back to what I was asking earlier, the whole sort of COVID-19 lockdown, how have things been? I know we discussed before, you furloughed a few of your team members, and you're
Yeah.
how are you finding it, and how have you sort of coped?
Well, we're sort of muddling through, like most businesses. We furloughed all our staff, but I have brought a few people back in to do a few days. And I think Rishi Sunak's talking about making that a bit more flexible. I'm sure you and anybody else who's running a business watching this would say, yeah, it's difficult if you bring somebody in, then you can't bring them back in for another 3 weeks. So I think a bit more flexibility, which I think is what he's talking about, would be useful, particularly as hopefully we gradually start to see a bit of a normality returning in terms of customer numbers. At the moment, we don't have any customers coming in the door. We're not allowed to.
Are the guidelines, because we've just had new issues, new guidelines issued for estate agents. How about optometrists? How's that working?
I don't think it's changed. To be honest, I've been so busy dealing with individual customers the last few days, so I try to keep looking at the various optical websites and other resources. But as far as I know, no, we're still most opticians are contractors for NHS England.
Yeah.
And NHS England will not allow us to see patients unless it's an emergency. In other words, if we think it might need urgent referral to the hospital. So I don't know of any change in that at the moment. People are talking about maybe July. So again, like most businesses, we've ordered up supplies of PPE.
Yeah.
And we're trying to think, how could that work in our store? We've got it's got a small floor area, it's narrow, so it's going to be kind of difficult to quite see how well we can do it, but it'll be a challenge, let's say.
Yeah, definitely. It's very difficult when you're seeing patients. You've got to get close up, haven't you? So it's
dentists and opticians, I think particularly, it is a challenge. There are some ways around it, but there's a few obstacles that I haven't quite yet thought my way around it. So it's useful going onto all the optical chat sites, and people have different ideas and different solutions work for different practices.
Yeah, fair enough. So a little bit about you, Mike. So have you always lived in Bath? You mentioned you studied 71. You set up the practice in 79.
No, I moved to Bath in I think 1984, 1985. So we run the practice for quite a while remotely, myself and Brian. But no, I lived in London, lived up in Leeds, lived abroad for a couple of years. So
Whereabouts abroad were you, Mike?
In the Bahamas, which was okay.
Yeah, very nice.
It's when you live on an island, it's a bit similar to what's happening here, because after a while you just think, I just got to get a change of scenery, because once you're on an island in the Bahamas, it's wherever you go, it's pretty much the same, palm trees and rocks and things. So you get people used to call it rock happy, and you just think, I've just got to get off this island. So, I think it's really fascinating when you think of this sort of imprisonment, and some of the people watching this may remember the cult TV series The Prisoner, which I thought was a fascinating program for quite a few reasons. But one was that you can be a prisoner even in paradise, but if you're locked into a paradise, it still becomes a prison.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, but I suppose there's on the scale of prisons, there's worse places you can be.
Sure.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying. So, do you live in Central Bath now, Mike, or you're on the outskirts?
Yeah, no, I'm very lucky. I just walk into work, which is really handy.
Yeah.
So that's convenient. And at the moment, we're doing quite a lot of home deliveries of glass repairs, people running out of contact lenses. And I always like to think of myself as a bit of an entrepreneur, but I'm obviously not as entrepreneurial as I like to think, because I should have really done a deal with Deliveroo or Pizza Express or somebody, because I could deliver pizzas and curries at the same time as contact lenses and spectacles if I'd been really smart. So
that's funny. And outside of work, what are your interests and hobbies?
Sport? I love virtually any sport, really, particularly motorsport, but golf and squash and tennis, and used to play a bit of football when I was younger. So Fell walking, although my knees are starting to say this isn't a good idea so much, but so all sorts of things like that. But it's particularly motorsport, so I'm really missing Formula One. And
you've got that picture in your practice with David. Who's the racing?
David
Coulthard,
yeah. That was a long time ago. That was some sort of testing session they were doing at Silverstone. But we've got a couple of our patients are actually racing drivers. So we always have a chat about cars, and I think we're all missing it desperately. But I think everybody's missing all sport, whatever sport you like. It's amazing how much you miss it.
Yeah, exactly. Watching it and doing it. You know, I mean, I enjoy my golf, but actually we're allowed to play around the golf these now. So
Anna, who works with me, was so excited to get back on the golf course. So I talked about it. It's a bit strange because you're still having to retain these social distances, which is So I love golf. Play a lot in the Bahamas, particularly, but don't find the time quite at the moment.
No. And are you a member anywhere? Do you play up at Bath or?
No, I have played. No, I'm quite lucky actually. It doesn't happen so much now. A lot of our suppliers would have sort of what do you call them, sponsored days when we could go off and play. Some very nice clubs actually. So I played some very nice courses.
What's your favourite course? Would you think you've played?
Wow, that's a very good question. Strangely enough, it's a municipal course. This was nothing to do with any of our suppliers, but up in north of Leeds, there's a municipal course, Bingley, which is just lovely because you start off in rather beautiful sort of parkland surroundings, as though you're in a manor house estate. But you gradually climb, and then suddenly you come out through some Scots pines, from my recollection, and suddenly you're in sort of Bronte country, and it's moorland with some pretty horrible rough either side. If you've ever played one of those,
you've got to keep it straight.
You go into heather, absolutely no chance. But, just amazing views across some of the Yorkshire Dales. So I suppose because it's very varied. The holes are so different.
It's. I know about the heather. My father moved down to Dorset and joined the Isle of Purbeck, and became very expensive playing around the golf there, I can say.
I know that feeling, yes.
So, well, while I've got you online, what I would really appreciate, and I'm sure the viewers would as well, are there any sort of top tips that you can sort of give to anybody, whether it be contact lenses or with spectacles?
Well, I guess contact lenses always do represent potentially a health hazard because you're putting a foreign body in your eye. So we've made a massive effort with all our contact lens patients over the years to put emphasis on hygiene, which is obviously more important now. There is no evidence, incidentally. There was a bit of conversation about our contact lenses. Is that an increased risk in connection with COVID-19? There's no evidence for that at the moment, because no evidence doesn't mean that there isn't. It just means we don't have any evidence there isn't, to be fair. But contact lens wearers, yes, it's a bit of a problem really, because you do like to keep a slightly closer watch on contact lens wearers, which we can't do at the moment. So our professional body, ruling body, the GOC, which is a bit like the General Medical Council, or the General Optical Council, have given us sort of a degree of dispensation, shall we say, to continue supplying lenses to patients beyond the time that we would normally be able to do that. We're supposed to see patients about every year. There's a little bit of flexibility. So that we can't really do at the moment. Spectacles, I mean, people just break their glasses or sit on them, and repairs. And then, of course, lots of people say it's the only pair I've got, which, of course, opticians are renowned for selling lots of pairs of spectacles, of course. But it's sort of frustrating. You think, if only people had two pairs of glasses, depending on one. So now I'm sounding like a typical salesman. There is a real benefit to do that. In terms of eye disease and more serious eye conditions, the crucial thing is if you have any problems with your eyes that you really are concerned about, you should ring your own optician. Or there is a list now, I believe NHS England. Unfortunately, I couldn't get onto the webinar last night, but they have now launched. Just trying to think, what's it called? Q's, I think. Corona. Corona Emergency Eye Service.
Right.
Like that. But anyway, so you can go on to NHS England. If your own optician can't see you, there is a list of other practitioners who could see you. So the symptoms that we'd normally obviously want to talk to you about is sudden change in vision or loss in vision, a red eye or a painful eye, and also flashes and floaters or any sort of really strange vision symptoms, sudden onset. Yeah. And then what we would try and do is do a remote triage, because our function is as much as anything to try and protect the hospital from unnecessary referrals. And a good example of this would be a chap who rang the other day, left a message to say, I'm really concerned. My vision's terrible. I'm really worried about it. I can't see anything. My eyes feel really strange. I don't know what's going on. And I was tied up with something else at the moment. And then about 10 minutes later, there was another call came on the voicemail. Don't worry. No panic. I've realized what's wrong. I've been wearing my wife's glasses. So I know the chap quite well. He's a lovely fella, and I rang him back. But I don't think we need to refer you up to the hospital, do we? And he said, well, certainly not the eye department, maybe the mental department.
Was it the pink rims that gave it away? Or?
I don't know. I think the moral of the story is make sure you don't choose a pair of glasses similar to your partner's.
Your partner's, exactly. How funny. Oh, that is very funny. Well, look, Mike, I've taken up nearly 20 minutes of your time. That's been fantastic. Thanks ever so much for coming with me. I'm sure plenty of people will be interested in what you've had to say, and this video will be available for viewing. As I said, this is part of a series of videos that we're doing. Next week, I'm going to be talking with Mark Evitz from Coulson & Coulson Surveyors. That's on Monday at 4:00. But Mike, I'd just like to thank you once again for sharing your thoughts and giving us your insight into your world. So thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
Lovely. Take care of yourself, Mike. Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye-bye.